All right, let's do this. Whoa. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Tennessee Fats, and today we are doing an obscure Conan the Barbarian miniseries review. That's actually a pretty good title. It's a long one, but I do like where we went with that because it covers every aspect of this. It's Conan, it's obscure, it's a miniseries, and it's a review. Let's do that. Now, I'm a little winded here. I'm not going to lie to you. This is the second time I've shot this intro because the first time I shot it, I was possibly wearing the dorkiest shirt I think the world has ever produced. And what it has taught me is Tennessee Fats. You should never, ever wear either baby blue or a collared shirt. I think those are safe rules. I'm going to stick with those. We're not here to talk about my attire, though, because trust me, if we did, you guys would be heckling me all damn day. No. Today what we're here to talk about is Conan. And here's the series we're talking about. All right. Conan the Barbarian and the Return of... all right. I'm going to screw this name up so badly in this video, and I honestly don't care anymore. Styrm. Let's go with Styrm today, okay? Because I have no idea. It's a dragon name, so... why do dragon naming conventions go like? I don't know. So Styrm it is for today. Sounds Swedish, and it makes me roll my cheek a little bit like that, and it makes me happy. So I'm going to go with Styrm. That's what we're doing today. This is a weird mini-series. Came out in 98. So this is the doldrum years for Marvel. This is, and trust me, if you were reading Marvel Conan stories in the late 90s, you knew these were the doldrum years, okay? There's a reason why Dark Horse took the license. It's an odd one. It's a standalone story. It doesn't build on anything else. I wonder if it's canon. I honestly do, but we're not going to get into those theories and those ideas today. What we're going to stick with today is just what happened in the story. So, spoiler alert, for those of you who do not want to know exactly what happens in this miniseries, stop watching this video right now. Done. You're warned, okay? If you're still sticking around, you're watching this one, that's because you don't want to go out and find all 3 issues of this on your own. You're saying to me, Tennessee Fats, just tell me what the heck happened. I will. Beginning, middle, and end. We're going to go through this one. At the end of it, I'm going to give you my thoughts. The Tennessee Fats thoughts of the day. This actually sounds really ethereal and really out there, but we're going to stick to comic thoughts, okay? Well, just about this series, not, general Jack Handy type thoughts, all right? Let's get into the book. And we're back. All right, now, unlike what we've done in the last couple of videos, I'm going to stick this in here because this is typically when I do this. Time for some obligatory YouTubing. If you like Robert E. Howard content, if you like the stuff I'm producing on the channel, by all means, subscribe to the channel. If you like this video and we're discussing it, give it a thumbs up. It actually does help the analytics, and it actually shows more viewers this content, which is kind of funny because I found that more and more viewers actually are viewing this content, which is really gratifying for a Cananophile like me because we're a shrinking market. Finding other people that actually like Robert E. Howard and Conan, it's a good thing. It makes me happy. Thumbs up to all that good stuff there. So go ahead and do that. And by all means, when you're done this video, post a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've read this thing and what your thoughts were on it. So, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to cover this series right here. Conan and the Return of Styrm. Styrm. Is it Styrm? Like Skrillex? I don't know. Either way, this is what we're reading today. Now, we'll go through each book here. Let's just do this one at a time here. So, as I mentioned earlier, the story is, and you can see this is how I actually store my comics. Those of you who wonder, I actually do write in cursive. I actually write the date of the actual book, what the title is, and the issue. And it's got my fancy stamp there on the back, which lets me know, hey, I own this. Woohoo! Yeah, I know. It's a me thing. And I do, for those of you who are wondering how to store my books, let's just go on the side here. So, these are not high-value books by any means. They're important to me, but I'm sure they're not important to anybody else. The way I store these they are in 2mm OPP bags, and I will put a full back there, and then I'll stick 2 halfbacks there. So effectively, you end up with like almost quadruple boarding on these, which works perfectly for modern comics in this size. I only go with silver size because it gives the book enough room to move around. And I know a lot of people are going to be real huffy about that. I'm going to say, Tennessee Fats, what are you doing putting it in a silver size? It's going to move around too much. Well, when you put that much backing in the back, it actually doesn't move around that much. So, anyways. Issue 1, awesome cover art. Let's just start with that right now. Like this, damn, I gotta tell you, it's an interesting series, and I found issue 3 of this first, and then I had to work my way back on the other 2 before I could sit down and read the whole thing. And when I found the 3rd issue, and we'll get to the art on that later, I was wondering whether I was going to see that art and artistic style continue back on the first one. I'm really glad it did, because I like it. It's really nice. So, as per most of these Conan books from back in the late 90s, you get this giant gatefold cover. Now, for those of you who remember my review where I talked about the, Conan the Usurper, this little write-up here, this sounds like sort of Conan the Adventurer mushmouth sort of baloney to me. great. You know, don't get me wrong. I like the Conan the Adventurer cartoon. I thought it was really cool. I enjoy watching it, actually. But this is not the Conan that Marvel Comics was writing comics about. What they do in these is they give you a little synopsis here of the personas, or dramatis personae, up at the front here. So you got Conan, you got this lady named Mikora, she's going to come out of nowhere, and you got the Kofi Ann Assassins. Not Coffee and Ann from the UN. No. Kofi Ann Assassins, right? And a nice little map of the Hyborian Age. You guys know I love my Hyborian maps. This one could use a bit more detail to make me happier, but, you know, it is what it is. Gatefold cover, and that's what you get for these. What they don't do is kind of give you a sense of how this story fits in with the rest. It'd be kind of neat, because they were doing miniseries at this point in time, because the Conan regular series had ended. If they said, you know, we're continuing on the story of blah. So in this case, we're continuing on the story of Conan the Usurper. But the problem with Conan the Usurper, of course, and for those of you who are wondering, you can see a video. I will link a video over here on it where I did a review of that. And that is not a canon story. So maybe it's best they don't, okay? So you get a write-up here about this this city. What was it? Oh, Valdover. That's the name of the city, which is in the mountains. Now, it took me a bit to figure this one out. So bear with me here, okay? So I'm going to go back to the map here. Okay, you see right over here, you see Zingara right there, and the north end of Zingara. When you get a more detailed map, which I'm hoping most of you do have who are watching these videos, there's a mountain range there called the Rabarian Mountains. Is it Rabarian Mountains? There you go. And this is smack dab in the middle of that. I couldn't find this referenced as being anywhere on a Conan map at all. Like, I Googled it, I did all sorts of stuff, could not find it at all. Anyways, so the story starts with, you know, it's a mountain village, and I guess they've got a problem because there's a secret they've been keeping. And then you immediately jump right into the storyline where we have Mikora here with her sisterhood of, I don't know, chainmail, metal-veiled warrior women. And who I'm going to call the Kofi Ann Assassins. Not Kofi Ann, Kofi Ann. And she turns into a ghost and goes off. Effectively, the dialogue here tells us that they've got a problem. Their problem has been created by one person, and they're now being forced to rely on that one person to solve the problem, which is why she turns herself into a ghost and wanders off. So, you know, you get to this and you're thinking to yourself, okay, it's Conan book. You're talking about a brutish person that caused a problem, and now you're going to try to use them to solve a problem. I'm willing to bet we're probably talking about Conan. And lo and behold, we are. And where do we find Conan? He's been out doing typical, you know, Conan the Barbarian, the gigolo of the Hyborian Age, and he's been stooping. And the ghost comes in, basically terrifies the woman. Conan throws her out of bed and basically says, hey, listen, I got an issue. I need you to go and, you know, take care of something for me. And I'm going to turn around and going to pay you for it. You have to do, and by the way, you're going to do it. And then, of course, she insults the woman that Conan is sleeping with. And that kind of is what triggers Conan. He says, listen, there's a dragon. I'm going to want you to kill a dragon, and I'm going to pay you for it. And Conan's like, yeah, whatever. No. And she basically turns around and says, no, you're going to do this for me one way or the other. And obviously, you know, if you want to rub Conan the wrong way, and I think if you want to rub anybody the wrong way, you probably want to tell them they're going to do it whether they like it or not. This is just not smart on her part. Anyways, she goes off and tells the Kofi Ann Assassins, okay, I gotta stop with the Coffee Ann Assassins to go down there and bonk him away and knock him out and bring him to her. However, do not kill. I believe she called her a sow. I believe she did call her a sow. Hold on here. Was it a sow? The cow. No, I actually called her a cow. Earlier she called her a sow, but at this point in time called her a cow. Very insulting. It's just, ouch. That's just not nice. You don't even know this poor woman. Oh, my goodness. Anyways, so these guys come in. It's funny because they're called the Kofi Ann Assassins, and all you see them use is these hammers. And you find out more about them a little later in the story. Anyways, they bonk Conan, knock him out, take him away. Of course, Conan's murdered one of them. And Conan comes to, and he's chained to a chair at the end of a table with the Kofi Ann Assassins. And, of course, there's Mikora at the end there. And she, again, is telling him, oh, by the way, you're going to do this for me because, you know, I'm telling you, you got to do this. I'm going to double the wages. And you're going to do it whether you like it or not. Well, that just pisses Conan right off again. And he goes into a little barbarian rage and just starts kabonking everybody. It's kind of funny because at this point in time, they're now kabonking him with the hammers. The same as they did earlier, but they're not having the same effect. Now, if you read carefully earlier in the story, and I kind of jumped this point, Mikora mentioned that she cast a slight spell on him. Maybe that's how they knocked him out. I don't know. Anyways, there's lots of bonking. As you see, punk, lots of hammer hitting, and ends up just throwing them all off of this cave on the side of a mountain, telling them to save him spot at the bar. And then he says, by the way, I'm going to murder you now. Now, this is somewhat un-Conan characteristic. Okay, now, granted, okay, she stinks of black magic. Conan made this comment earlier, but he's just decided he's just going to kill her. I don't know. I don't see Conan really going for that. Anyways, he's doing his little barbarian rage thing and charging her, and she just says stop, and down he falls to find that he's actually been covered by archers the entire time. And this is where, you know, what do we call this? The better part of valor. He decides to, okay, fine, I'll go and do what you need to do, and I'll go kill the dragon. And then you see him at the end of this big fancy shot here where he's got a chainmail loincloth now, which maybe that was one of the veils earlier. They're just repurposing, I don't know. And a dragon wing shield. Hey, that's kind of cool. And a giant axe. And that's basically the end of issue 1. Okay, all right, they set up the story. Now, one of the things that they did mention here, and I kind of skipped over, was the reason why Conan had created this problem is because he had either killed or brutally, really hurt 6 or 7 guys that were supposed to solve this dragon problem. And honestly, there was no explanation of what that was in this story. And I sort of said, okay, all right, I'm cool with that. That sounds like something Conan would do, you know, just randomly beating the tar out of 6 or 7 guys and then causing a problem. Sure, I'll buy that. Why not? So, interesting story. It leaves you with a nice setup there, and you're going off. You clearly get a sense that Conan is now going to be running off and basically murdering a dragon. Now, the dragon being Styrm. Anyways, so there, you got it. Now, I'm not going to do any spoilers yet, okay? Because we don't know these details yet in the story. So that's story 1 where it leaves off. Let's look at number 2 here, shall we? Get her out of the book. Now, again, fancy art. And this is where we get our first glimpse of Styrm. Yeah. Cool. Now, he's using the same axe he was using the last page of the other one. That's nice continuity there. And there's that chainmail veil that he's using as a loincloth. Okay, I don't know how that ended up there, but whatever. And you get a little bit of a story retelling here. Now, I noticed this when we were reading the Conan the Usurper story, that this little synopsis here, this synopsis they stick at the front. Because in the first one, we saw the map of the Hyborian Age, right? So in this one, you now get a, oh, by the way, this is what happened in the first issue, just in case you missed it, dear reader. It's kind of going the revisionist history rule here. They're kind of starting to change the narrative a little bit. Anyway, so we get a sense here that here is Mikora, and she's in the village, and she's talking to everybody saying, you know, listen, guys, we got to deal with this problem. But we don't really have a sense of what the problem is. And then you hear more about the fact that, you know, we're going to go and we're going to basically deal with this dragon because, you know, a dragon flew over our town, and when it left, we were all happy, but we found out that it left something behind, which was an egg, which laid a baby dragon, which is, by the way, just so you know, Styrm. We don't really get to that till later. Anyways, well, she decides to basically peer pressure the villagers into saying, hey, we should go and, you know, murder that guy. And the villagers go up there, and this is like a newborn dragon, right? And they're like, hey, yeah, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to set fire to the cave to lead it out. Now, why? Now, this is one of those moments. Now, I'm no naturalist, okay? I'm no sort of dragonologist, but it would occur to me that if you're trying to deal with a dragon, you probably don't want to punish a fire-breathing dragon or hurt a fire-breathing dragon with fire. I would imagine, I could be wrong, okay, but I would imagine that a dragon has the ability to handle fire. Now, anyway, so they decide to set fire to the cave to try to drive it up, and somehow it works. I don't know. Thing comes out, and they just go right on to town on this poor baby dragon. They like, okay, we're just going to slice off a wing, and they knock it off out of the cave where it was, and down to the ground. They head down there, and they're like, oh, yeah, we should probably, you know, murder this thing. And she's like, no, because it's a magical creature. If you murderalize it, it's just going to sit here and haunt your hill. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to cut off its other wing. And you can see it right here. Like, it clearly is like, what? We're going to cut off its other wing, because, you know, you already cut one off. And then we're going to tie it to a raft. And we're going to set it down the river. So by the time he dies, he's a lowland problem, and his ghost will haunt down there. This is, you know, this is one of those things where It's like, really? That was your solution? That was what you were thinking? Okay, okay. You thought to piss off a dragon, and instead of finishing it off, you cut its wings off, which is probably going to piss it off more. And then you tied it to a raft and floated it down a river. Bear in mind, this is the baby dragon. Where's the mama dragon in this? Like, just if this is how pissed off baby dragon's going to be, WTF? Mama dragon is going to go balls to the wall nuts on this. Cutscene. Done. And then nearly 50 years later, okay, so now you have a sense that this was a long time ago. And then you're saying, wait a minute, why does she still look like this then when it's 50? This is that dark magic coming in. And here you have Conan waxing poetical, where he's thinking about, oh, why am I always trapped doing other people's jobs for them? And oh my goodness, and I only worship Crom. None of this matches what Conan would say, ever. This is just, what is he, Hamlet? This is, don't be wrong. I love my Shakespeare. But no, full-blown not. Anyways, and he goes back, well, just the other day I was doing this, and then flashback. So I'm thinking, okay, great. I'm going to get a little bit of a story here as to how, he got here. Well, it turns out that he got here because he was off rescuing some princess in a nearby area. Knew he was going to be ambushed, decided to free a bunch of prisoners in whatever that place was, sent them off to their deaths knowing that they were going to be ambushed so that he could double back and go a different way. Basically then, this is, by the way, them in the ambush, which was a very clumsy ambush, by the way. I will point that out, to find out that that was their plan all along and there was a second ambush. And he loses all the rest of his men just to rescue this woman who he really does not seem to like. Like, he's really talking smack at her about how fat she is and how useless she is, and really body shaming and being quite rude. Quite rude. Now, I don't know. I don't know Conan to be that kind of guy. I really don't. So to me, this kind of seems... Anyway, so he rescues this woman, returns her home to the king, expecting the reward, where the king says, yeah, you were supposed to bring back my princess, and my queen was going to be fine, but my queen gave up on you and died of a broken heart. And when she died, all of my people in my kingdom realized that I was an idiot and probably didn't deserve to be king, and they abandoned me. Oh, and we threw one hell of a wild party at her funeral, and I blew through all of my money, so I can't afford to pay you. Well, Conan's not too happy about this, and decides he's going to have some words. But instead of killing the old man, because now Princess here wakes up, puts her on the throne and says, you have 2 years. 2 years, at which point in time, you're going to make a butt ton of money as the queen, quote, quote, queen, king, and you're going to come back, and when I come back, you're going to pay me, because you're going to do a good job as a king, queen, and that's just the bottom line. Kind of a funny way to solve the problem, and then rides off and basically ends up in this particular town, Valdover, where apparently they make really good beer, and decides he's going to head off to the bar. Well, when he heads off to the bar, he runs into these 6 or 7 guys that you're thinking to yourself, oh, there's the 6 or 7 guys. I earlier was kind of thinking maybe the 6 or 7 guys were his adventuring party, and we were going to keep this as a quick flashback, but no, we're going full tilt into flashback mode here. So anyways, the adventuring guys decide they're going to pick a fight. Well, Conan's kind of been listening to the conversation going on in the tables surrounded by the old folks, trying to find out what's going on in town. But these guys just say, no, we're going to pick a fight here. Generally not a good idea. This guy pisses on his foot in a trough. Now, those of you who remember, let's on aside from Tennessee Fats here, those of you will remember this, and some of you might not remember this. So I'm Canadian, right? I know I'm Tennessee Fats, but I'm Canadian. It's quite funny. And moot point, not what we're talking about here. As a child, I grew up in the greater Toronto area, so being a Torontonian type kid, I would go to Toronto Maple Leafs games. And I'll tell you, the first and last time I have ever pissed in a trough in a bathroom was at Maple Leaf Gardens, because I was in the nosebleed seats way up in the back, and guess what the washroom had? Literally a trough on the floor, and you pissed on the wall, and it ran down on a trough, and then it ran out the floor on the other side. It was really fucked up. I'm not gonna lie. That was not what I would expect. And I kind of thought, wow, this is barbaric. I probably thought this was really barbaric at the time. And lo and behold, here it is in a Conan comic. They're literally pissing in a trough, and this guy decides to piss on his foot. Yeah, you never cross streams, man. Never. Anyways, this causes the whole fight to ensue, and Conan just basically goes nuts and starts hacking and slashing and, beating the tar out of everybody. And until this guy's the guy who pissed on him was the last guy. He said, no, don't throw me out the window. And he throws him through a wall instead. That's kind of funny. And ends up, hooking up with this girl who we find is later on the one that was sleeping with him when the ghost came in. And then you come back to Conan, who's been sitting on this rock, basically just waxing poetical, flexing and showing off his, his axe and his dragon wing shield and his chainmail, scarf, handkerchief, loincloth. And that's the end of the issue. Like, yeah, that's so. Okay, that was weird. Yeah. All right. So now you get a sense of, okay, well, who's Mikora? We got that. You got a sense that time's gone by. 50 years has gone by. Okay, we got a sense of that. And one thing that was in here that I did not really get into a lot of detail, when he was talking or was listening to the other people in the bar, and they were complaining. One of the things that they were complaining about was that Mikora, basically, they were saying, oh, she just took advantage of us and then went up into that dragon lair, and we haven't seen her since. And you're like, oh, so she's been up in the dragon lair. Actually, things are starting to make sense now. Well, actually, it doesn't make any sense. Honestly, that fact is kind of lost on you at this point in time. All right, issue 1 and 2. Issue 3, here we go. Big roundup issue. Now, I'm excited about this one. We had the first issue, which was kind of starting a story, and then we had the second issue, which was basically nothing but backfiller. I don't know. Is it like the prequel? Is it like the prequel of Star Wars? Like, you don't like the prequels because, they're the prequels? I don't know. Anyways, you're now on issue 3. This was the first issue of the series that I found. Cool art. I really like this. There's Styrm. Yeah, look, he's actually accurately drawn here without wings. I don't know who the F these people are supposed to be because I can tell you. Spoiler alert, we're going to go through this whole issue. They're not there. Okay. All right, there's our wrap up over here. And this one was not so much revisionist history because there really wasn't any revisionist history in issue 2 for them to revision. All it basically told you was, bound and sent down a river to die. Again, with the coming out of the poor dragon. Like, what the hell? Who does that to a poor dragon folk? I don't know. Anyway, story opens up with Valdover basically quite upset as a city because apparently something's on fire outside. And here, of course, is the queen, or Mikora, where she is in her lair, and she's talking to one of her people. And this is kind of an eye-opening experience because her person here with the chainmail kerchief is quite upset because all of her sisters were killed just to cast a spell to turn her into a ghost so she could fly down to the town and basically taunt Conan. And she's like, oh, no, it's all good because, it was a necessary thing. And at the end of this, you'll see, we will all see. And you're like, that's kind of a dick move. Not going to lie to you. That is a dick move. And why does she got blue lips? Do they have blue lipstick? I don't know. Anyways, Conan's sitting around basically waiting for the dragon to arrive. And now everybody's cheering on and saying, yeah, he's a dragon. Oh, look, it's the lady he was stripping with. And she's like, no, we're coming with you. And it'll be a great time. And he's like, F off. And then he sees all of this noise over here with Dragon Dude. And it's kind of funny. This panel taken out of context, just the image, sort of made me step back and go, what is she doing here? Like, just take a look at that panel. Is she stripping? Is if you took the word bubble out, okay, forget the word bubble. Is there something sexual going on here that was then rewritten? If you think about it, actually, look at that. There's a little pointy thing right there that's coming out of this word bubble. And there's a little block right here. Was there originally a different word bubble here and this was edited with another word bubble put over top of it? Or is that supposed to be some sort of ash that's falling from the fire? Because we do know that there's ash falling. I don't know. I would suggest the placement that this... I'm calling shenanigans. Anyways, Conan hears the noise and then he's thinking to himself, maybe it's good that I'm not alone. And suddenly you have a cutscene where suddenly he's delivering this massive speech to all the townsfolk who are giving him devil horns in support because apparently he's Ozzy Osbourne. And she's just sitting here looking, I don't know what she's doing. And he's giving a speech saying, some of you ain't going to survive. And now they're thinking, well, maybe we should go back. And then Dragon arrives. Yeah. And he's not looking too good. Not looking too good, I got to tell you. They're cutting the wings off and then floating under the river. And everybody abandons him and runs away. So Conan goes off thinking he's going to fight him. And it's his wing. And Dragon Guy's like, huh? The eyes are opening here. And what's the first thing he says? That is my wing. And this is where things don't go well for Conan. Because now Dragon's kind of really enraged because he's thinking, okay, you got my wing, bud. This is not good. And they have a bit of a fight. And Conan gets basically thrown through the gates of the town that he's trying to defend. And Dragon heads on into the town and starts causing all manner of hell. Anyways, Conan gives up on the wing and gets himself up and says, okay, I'm going to go kick some ass now. While obviously the lady who's stuck with him this whole time is now like, yeah, it's going to be okay. And look, here's another chainmail face mask thing. Anyways, Conan says, I'm going to head up here and you're staying here. Basically drops the girl off the rock, storms off chasing after the dragon because, he's paid to do it. And Conan's starting to figure out, isn't it interesting that the dragon really is just going up there to kill Makora, who's now, by the way, sending the Kofi Annan Assassins. Kofi Annan Assassins. It's like a grunge band name, the Kofi Annan Assassins. If I had a grunge band, I would name it the Kofi Annan Assassins. Anyway, goes breaking into or he's trying to break into a stronghold here, kills the Kofi Annan Assassins, and basically makes his way in, where she's trying to magic him out and say, no, you're not going to kill me. Can't roll any magic, and sends in the Kofi Annan Assassins again. These guys are just like cannon fodder. He's just throwing them all out. And the, again, chainmail face kerchief thing lady is there. Gets thrown out, and watch this. Oh no, I'm outside. And oh no, and turns into dust, and she's gone. Okay. So Conan's here with the dragon. He's like, oh, the dragon's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, you're going to save me, right? And magic starts flying all over the place. And Conan's thinking, I'm going to throw you the hell out of here. Throws her off and says, great, now where's my reward? And blasts. She blasts him with magical energy, and the dragon ends up flying up. And the dragon says, by the way, you were the guy who gave me the gentle shove to show me that I'm actually magical and I don't need wings to fly. Thanks for that. Just because you did that, I'll let you live when I destroy everybody. So get the hell out of here. He rides in there and does his thing and drags Makora out, who turns into dust. And you find out at this point in time that she was kept alive because she was being basically kept in the dragon nest, where things move a little differently. But if she ever left, time would catch up with her. And dragon is now looking at Conan saying, didn't I tell you to leave? He's like, I'm not going to run. So the dragon uses his tail and knocks the rocks down underneath Conan. And then Conan cutscene is riding out of town. Everybody's happy. And dragon's back up on the hill. And that's the end of the story. Yeah. Did you notice how I said and then a lot in this? It's because there really was a lot of and then. Honestly, this last issue basically read like almost, it was almost like an issue of episode of Perfect Strangers. It was just nonstop gags as you're running along, and you're thinking to yourself, when's it going to stop? It was kind of interesting that Conan did figure out that Styrm was just going to kill Makora, so maybe it was time he just hung back and let things happen. That was kind of cool. It was kind of cool that, the Styrm really was just going down the vengeance route here, and this really was a story which, honestly, it's billed as the Return of Styrm, like it's some sort of evil thing. But in actuality, this is sort of like a judgment swan song coming into the life of this Makora person and just finishing her off and just solving the problem. Like, who breaks in and cuts a dragon's wings off and floats it down her? What a dick move. I don't care how good you think you look. That's just a dick move. Anyways, that's the story. Huh. Well, what do we think of this? Well, Baby Bean, the comic-eating cat, what do you think? He's sitting over here on the beanbag chair beside me, and he's got absolutely no input. He is so bored by this story, he does not even care. Okay, so let's give you my 2 cents on this. What are the Tennessee fans' 2 cents on this? I'm going to put this over here, and I'm going to put that there on us. Yeah, see, it gets a little bit of the glare gone because it's on an angle. So, what do I think of this? Well, the art in this. Okay, let's talk about the art. The cover art in this was awesome. Honestly, this cover art here really... It sells a bill of goods. Let's put it that way. This cover art, I think, was just pretty darn fantastic. It was just quite the thing. And I like what they did with this. I like the way it was going. And I like this almost, what is a Bisley or Bisley type style that they got going on this thing. That is cool. The interior art. This was kind of weird. So you're in the late 90s here, right? And the interior art on this one was kind of, how do I say this in such a way that doesn't offend absolutely everyone? Wow, that's a toughie. The art in this one, if you look at the way they drew Makora and every other female figure in this, was absolutely ludicrous. Don't get me wrong. Listen, I do like the female form. I have no issue with the naked female body. But, it's just one of these things where the human body is a thing. And maybe it should be represented correctly. Yeah, that's what we're going to go with here. The human body should be represented correctly. So the art was a little out there. The depiction of Conan, like there are times where he does not look human. The depiction of Makora, there are times where, honestly, she looks like some sort of weird metal-clad stripper. The barmaid, was she a barmaid? I don't know. Who was the lady that Conan was stooping with? Like, we never really get a sense of where she fits in the story, where she came from, or what. We know she's townfolk, but that seems to be all we know about her. So, what was her story? Why'd they draw her that way? Like, what's with the weird eyes? They're all these weird, like, giant spaced apart forehead nose things with, I don't know, something was just weird in there. And you know, I'm going to call her artistic style. That might be your taste. I don't think it really sings to me, though. So that's my thought on the art. Story-wise, well, issue 1 and issue 3 were a story. I wonder if this could have been done with just issue 1 and issue 3. You saw when we went through issue 2, it gave you a little bit of back issue. Well, the backstory really was just 2 or 3 panels for Makora and Valdover. The rest of it was all Conan basically just riding around and, well, first of all, waxing poetical and thinking like he's some sort of Shakespearean protagonist, which he's not. And then on top of that, it has him basically really talking down and talking smack about this princess that's been kidnapped by a cult that he's rescuing. And that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't sound like something he would do. And I don't know. It didn't fit. Let's just put it that way. It did not fit in my mind as to what you should have in here. That is not a Conan thing. That adventure could have been a nice one-off story, which would have fit in another book, maybe with some different verbiage and less body shaming. But yeah, let's go with that. But it's here because it was back filler. I don't know. It's an interesting story, which really is, as I say, the dragon coming back for revenge and getting that revenge. And Conan, even when he recognized that was what was happening, still threw the dragon off a cliff. Conan clearly did not get what was going on here and switch sides. He stuck with the whole, no, I'm going to help you and kill the dragon. I don't know. You know, just didn't speak to me. So the art, not my thing. And really, really unrealistic expectations that it was setting for any human being to ever try to achieve if they were thinking this is the physical idea of beauty of either men or women. And the writing, these 2 issues on a standalone story were good. Throwing in that back piece in the middle just really disjointed it for me and threw it off for me. I don't know. It didn't sing to me. Anyways, so would I buy this again? Well, yes, I would buy this again because I'm a Conanophile and I like Conan. And really, these covers are quite the thing. So if you can go out there and you can find these for a couple bucks to have in your collection just because you really like the covers, and that's a really cool image of Styrm there. That's kind of cool. And I do like the fact that, you know, they were consistent throughout with the axe and the dragon wing shield on these 2. That's kind of cool. Not so much on this one. Maybe it's because he didn't have it at that point in time. But he does have the chainmail loincloth thing. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, for a couple bucks, I mean, go ahead and pick it up. If you think you're going to buy this and you're going to really enjoy the read, you know, I can't guarantee that's going to happen. Everybody, that's my final thoughts on this one. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the rambling walkthrough of this particular story. And the fact that I kept saying Styrm like Styrm. And really, we'll see you in the next video.